about gaining world-class fame. You know, it is about impacting lives. That's what a good idol does. You know, and there's so many unsaid stories, and you're absolutely right. You know what happened? So the character that Shalini ji was referring to was from a film called Toilet Ek Prem Katha, a film that literally changed my fate overnight. It has impacted our country in a massive way, and that's when I truly realized the power of cinema and the power that I have as an actor, the power to make about a change. So the film was inspired by a real life incident of this lady called Anita, who told her husband after she got married that I will not live with you till you build a toilet. Now, as a privileged city girl, by privilege I mean I had the privilege of having a bathroom in my house, which is a basic right. You know, yet in modern India, a couple of years ago, we were talking about this as a privilege. And once I started doing the film, and once I got into the character, I realized that it is just not about having a toilet in your house. The problem is a lot more deep-rooted. It is to do with our culture. It is to do with the the heightened expectation of a woman that she should wake up at 5 a.m. She needs to go take care of her entire household. She needs to go plow the fields and she needs to go collect water. She will walk kilometers and kilometers in a condition. She could not be well. She could have a broken back, but she does not have access to a toilet in her house. You know, she is subjected to violence. She is subjected to rape. She is subjected to just general health threats. Why? Because our culture did not permit us to have a bathroom in our house. But after Toilet Ek Prem Katha came out and we addressed these problems, we saw a massive change. So my idea, or what I want to do as an actor through my profession, is celebrate these women. I'm constantly looking for stories that can bring about a mindset change, that can inspire people, because that is my way to give back to my country.
Perfect. I think we've so we've had these long form questions. I have a couple of more long form questions, but I'm going to now ask you some quick questions because I don't want anybody to yawn right now. So very, very quickly, you said you were intelligent. Do you read on a daily basis? This is yes and no.
Yes, I do. But I would like to add that a lot of my reading has gone onto my phone.
Who's your favorite author?
For fiction, I would like to say Paulo Coelho. I have always loved reading him. He still is very, very relevant to me.
I have seen a couple of your pictures sitting in vans and reading. So yes, I can vouch for that. Do you read on a Kindle or do you read on your phone?
On my phone. Yeah.
That goes into my research. Okay. So do you make a to-do list?
Most days. Most days.
Do you
stick by it?
That's okay.
Maybe
None
not.
of us stick by it. But do you make one?
I do make one.
And do you also write manuals?
Not
Journals?
Yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Perfect.
yet.
Do you also have a problem of aunties saying, "Moti ho gayi ho"?
All the time. All the time.
Okay. Do you also have a problem when mama calls you and says कि ये इतनी छोटी ड्रेस क्यों पहनी, ये क्यों किया, जल्दी क्यों खाना नहीं खाया, खाना क्यों लेट कर दिया, इसको क्यों किया, वैसे क्यों किया?
नहीं, luckily not.
Great. Do you also get a question, settle कब होगे?
Oh, बिल्कुल. Like every time you're in there. But मैं जवाब दूँ उसके पहले मेरी मम्मी दे देती है. So I have like somebody safeguarding me.
Perfect, very nice. I always tell these women and men, and there are a couple of young men here, settle क्यों होना है? The most innovations are done by people who are unsettled in their heads. So let's be creative, let's be crazy. Getting married, having children is not settled, please. You just need to be unsettled. Okay, coming back, I have those few more questions, but later. Tell me this. You have been a very strong voice on climate. Shri Narendra Modi ji has talked about life, which is living for environment. And it has also come up as a concept for the G20 that India now has presidency for. How do you look at sustainability and environment as an entrepreneurial venture? How do you look at it as women contribution to sustainability? And last but not the least, what do you think about sustainability in your daily life? What is your thought process on it?
So I would like to start my answer by saying that anybody who believes that climate change is not real is really living under a rock. It is the largest looming threat to humanity. Through my research, because I have been a passionate advocate and I have been working a lot in the field, and through my research, I have realized that in this case as well, when there is a climate change related effect, an adverse effect, it is the women that are the most affected. Because women globally, and it really hurts my heart to say this, are the most vulnerable, marginalized community globally. When there is a natural disaster, when there is a drought, when there is a flood, it is the women that are the most affected and the children. When I would read articles that, in parts of India, women actually went through an operation where they decided to remove their uterus because they could not sustain, because there was a drought in that area. That's when I started thinking, I'm like, we are the caretakers. We take care of our children, we take care of our fields. We make 70% of the labored workers in our country. Yet nobody comes up to us and asks us, what do you think is the problem? So how do women contribute and how can this change? When we have women in places of power that are making policies for us, because only they know, they can understand and empathize with our problems. And secondly, when we go to these women that are actually dealing with the problem, that actually now have to walk maybe 3 kilometers extra because the wells in their village have dried up, where they are now going to other states to work because there's a drought in their state and now they can't sustain taking care of their own farming land. If we go to these women and we ask them, what are your experiences? Because women in rural India have always lived a sustainable life. When I look at my grandmother, as you rightly said, my mother's from Haryana. When I would look at my grandmother, she was one strong woman and she was empowered. So I completely resonated with what you said. But if I go back to the way she lived, the fact that वो अपना गीला कचरा अलग करती थी, सूखा कचरा अलग करती थी, वो प्लास्टिक नहीं यूज करती थी, or whatever her practices were, she was so thoughtful about the food that she was putting onto the table, about the food not being wasted. Obviously, she had her own circular economy in her house. How do we implement those things? And that can only happen if we go to these women and we include them on panels, we include them on juries, we include their experiences. Because the truth of the matter is, as you said, any problem or any progress that can happen in this world needs to happen with a 50% representation.
Perfect. Having said that, I saw this old lady from Haryana who jumped into the Ganga river in Haridwar because she was 86-year-old, and when the cameraman turned around to ask her why did she jump off that bridge, she said because side में बहुत भीड़ थी तो मैं ऊपर से कूदी. And it got trended, it was viral, a lot of journalists came around asking her what she ate, how did she, and she sounded so casual that it's like daily affair for me, what are you doing? And that's how strong women are. We just don't realize that we are trend material in ourselves. What we don't need to do is make an effort to trend, we just need to be ourselves. Okay. There are a lot of women who look at second innings, so I've said this in a lot of researches. When COVID happened, you just gave numbers, I'll put numbers onto it. 76% women across the globe are caretakers. In India, 95%, including every single woman at home, had to take care of their husbands who had COVID, or their grandparents, or their in-laws, and so on and so forth. So 95% of caretakers were women, right? But unfortunately, when COVID struck, 11% drop in vaccination happened for women and children. So yes, these are true numbers. But what is amazing and what strikes me very, very hard is that these numbers are right there in front of us. Yet, when COVID happened and all the men sat at home, that's when they realized, oh, you can work from home. But all the women who were at home because of children and childbirth, they kept saying for years together that, give us opportunity to work. And all the corporates realized that, no, you can't work from home. But all of a sudden, the tables have turned, and of course, women have grabbed this opportunity. So there you see a whole increase of women working from home and corporates employing these women. But this second inning is extremely important, and motherhood is also extremely important. People like you who are sitting in position of power need to address this, because this is the challenge of women. Inclusive of this, we need to talk about inclusivity in a very different fashion. So women are also fighting disability at various levels. So disabled women is also a second category where we need to have efforts to include these people. So one, is there anything personally that you do? Is there anything that you would want to voice, to become a voice for? And last but not the least, have you ever thought of advocating this cause?
And I feel as a woman living in our country today, for me, every cause related to women's rights is something that I would always stand up for and speak about. But specifically speaking about the sabbatical that women have to take, because for me, a second inning most times is connected to a woman taking a break because of personal reasons. That could be motherhood, that could be, taking care of an elderly person or somebody who's sick. Most times for me, so I'll specifically address that. Being an actor, there is a taboo, that started off with that, oh, if she gets married, she's done. Usko wo roles nahi milenge. Oh, if she becomes a mother, she's done. And I feel so proud today when I look at my colleagues that are breaking these stereotypes and still doing the same kind of parts that they were doing earlier. So I really hope that people in corporates and other fields do get inspired from this. But the fact of the matter is that when a woman takes a break, she, for whatever reasons, if she restarts, she somehow restarts at a disadvantage. And that's what we need to change. She's obviously, you have to get your skills going. You have to, be with the game. I'm not denying that. But if she is nursing a child, see, having a child does not take you back. And that is the ideology that we need to change. But that can also only happen on a corporate level when you have enough women at places of power. When you don't have that, nobody is going to empathize with you. And just becoming a mother does not make you weak. It actually makes you stronger. You will never... The problem is that parenthood is not taken as a shared effort. So I feel that the moment that changes, where parenthood is taken as a shared effort, for a woman to come back to work would not be difficult. I'm not taking away from the fact that, she does go through physiological changes. We also need to respect that. Because what often happens is that in this path of becoming equals, we don't realize that physiologically I am different than a man. And I need to respect that. I see so often, recently there's been a lot of conversation about menstrual break. I support it because, I am somebody who as an actor go through immense pain when I start my period. But people are so uncomfortable. When I was on a set one day and I could not take it, I had to go tell a director of mine. He was in shock. He was so uncomfortable that I actually had the word period and, I'm bleeding and my stomach is hurting. But it was true because I kept popping painkillers, but I just couldn't do it. Why should I put my body through that? I've literally seen, and please, I believe in equality, but I have seen people, men in my ecosystem that get a little bruise and it's doomsday. And it's fine. We are equally responsible for it, right? Because we have always nurtured our boys in a way कि मेरे राजा बेटा अगर गिर गया तो हम क्या करें? It's okay, But I'm also fortunate to have enough men around me that are evolved enough to actually go to a chemist and buy me a sanitary napkin or tampons, because my first one came from my father. So I am fortunate to be born in that ecosystem. But having said that, we need to understand that I'm physiologically different than you. And you need to respect that. But that does not mean that I'm weaker. That does not mean that I'm not going to be as driven as you are about my work, or me becoming a mother, or me having any kind of health issue is going to take me back. I'm as capable as you are. And that's what we need to keep advocating time and again.
On record, Bhumi, I don't believe in gender equality because we are better. Uh, quick question. A slightly uncomfortable question, but in your fraternity and in every fraternity, equal pay is a big topic. And uh, as a regulator, as somebody sitting in position of power, I advocate it. But equal pay is a no-say topic most of the boardrooms. Now, how do we address it as a community? And do are we in all these efforts making it a man versus woman world?
And the thing is that if we don't put out our front, at the cost of it become a man versus woman front, I don't think our cause would ever come to the forefront. Because we are not the ones that have made it a man versus, it was only a man's world. So for that versus to even come, we have to have that fight. And this question actually does not make me uncomfortable because I love speaking about the pay parity that exists everywhere. There have been times when I have been offered 5% of what my male co-star was given. I understand it's a business. I completely respect that. But he's had the same number of hits behind him. He's been in the industry roughly the same amount. Maybe my films have had more business than his. But still, he deserves more. He deserves a bigger fee than I do. So when I started off, I had the notion that, yaar, you don't have an option. ये तो करना ही पड़ेगा वरना picture नहीं मिलेगी. But through my work and through creating a space for myself, I've reached a point where I say no. I say, if you will not pay me, I will not do it because I deserve this and I'm not asking for a ridiculous amount. I also understand that this is a post-COVID world, but all your post-COVID fee should not be cut out of my fee. Go cut it out of your hero's fee who's anyways charging a ridiculous amount. So, so for me, I love speaking about this and I do. See, the thing is that you know your value. Everyone is going to undervalue you. And it's a journey. I'm sitting over here today saying these things, but it was a journey for me too, because I did not have the courage to say no at the start of it. But then it is through my experience, through meeting other women that have fought for the cause. I have realized that if you don't value yourself, the world will not. The moment I sat across the table and I said, nahi yaar, main to itna hi lungi, take it or leave it, they started giving it to me. And I was like, oh, this is how it works. Because I'd seen so many of my male co-stars do that, but we are never taught that. We also are idols of people that are in place of power, even in my fraternity, are from the opposite sex. So however evolved they are, they're never going to sit there and tell me, fight for your rights.
And somehow the women also don't want to ask because they feel we don't deserve it. It's exactly the same with all the women entrepreneurs here. When we go to VCs, they ask us similar questions. When we go asking for money, they ask us, oh, do you have a male co-founder? Oh, are you only women founders? Oh, no. Why don't you go to a women founding scheme? Why don't you go for a women entrepreneurial scheme? And so on and so forth. So our challenges are the same and we need to address it exactly the same way. Take it or leave it. It is for you to decide because we are for talent and talent has no gender. It has a kid.
For me, it has to be Bollywood related. For me, the first time I went and I saw a film in a theatre was a film called Rangila. I was a toddler and I was obsessed with what Urmila Matondkar ma'am was doing on that screen. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I want to dress like her. I want to dance like her. The acting part I realized a lot later. For me, it was only the glamour. So I think I would want to say all the beautiful songs, all these wonderful women that I saw just, be the best version of themselves on screen. So for me, my talent is a homage to them.
Is success standing out, differentiating? Because nobody, I would understand from your fraternity, will start with a dam laga ke haisha.
I think I got lucky that I started with the dam. It wasn't my plan. I didn't have an option. I was like, okay, you always want to be an actor. You don't necessarily have a structure that will give you this opportunity easily. I'm not a conventional beauty for Bollywood films. Kya karu? This film came, I jumped on it. I honestly did not realize what I'm going to get out of this film. At that moment, I only wanted to be an actor. I had an opportunity. I was like, grab it.
So you've already answered my next question. I said, being honest, yes or no? Now you said honestly 3 times. So you think it is good to be honest?
Um,
Yes or no?
no, not always. Sorry? But okay, I'm not honest all the time. I'm just gonna
Life
put it
isn't
like
black
that.
or white.
It's
Black.
always grey for me.
You're wearing grey also. Yes. Okay,
Absolutely.
good. The next question also you answered it earlier. I was going to ask you, do you believe in period leaves? Tell me, we all know that you work out. And I keep telling women that our problem is that we do not take out time for ourselves. One workout tip that you would want to give to everybody.
I think let's start simple. You know, working out is definitely important for your physical health, but it's also important for your mental health. It's the only time you'll get your me time where you can disconnect and actually feel positive things happening to your body. 15 minute karo, 20 minute karo, lekin karo, and you will see how much your productivity, your
How
self-confidence.
should women prioritize themselves?
How should
In 2 lines.
by putting themselves first and understanding that सब कुछ हो जाएगा अगर आप strong हो.
There is this typical feeling of, uh, you know, life stands on me. You know, if I'm not going to be there, then what is going to happen? And that's why we run all the time. My mom told me very early in my life that, you know, gadhe ki zarurat sabko hoti hai, and that's the reason why you sustain, because everybody wants their work to be done by someone else, and usually it's a woman, right? So every time you feel that, oh, I'm running the world, it is usually not so. You are extremely indispensable. You get changed. My children grow up even if I'm not there. Very spiritually, are you a spiritual person, yes or no? Okay, very spiritually, tell me this, that do you feel that the world revolves around you?
Okay. The narcissist in me definitely does, but I think I would like to believe that I am an important contributor to the ecosystem. But will it crash if I'm not there? No. You know, because the world goes on.
The advice that you would want to give to these women sitting right in front of you?
Prioritize yourself. Number one, most important. There will be a lot of no's, there will be a lot of chatter. You're only going to have, at most times, people pull you down. But you have to listen to that one gut instinct in your head that always kept telling you, do it and do it now, because time will go and they'll be too late. So just do it. 10 गलतियां करोगे, 10 बार फेल होगे, पर एक बार होगा जब आप पास होगे और उसका फल इतना बड़ा होगा कि आपको जो एक खुशी मिलती है ना ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, जो एक खुशी मिलती है ना that I'm not dependent on anybody, I am today capable of taking care of myself. There's nothing more fulfilling than that feeling.
One last question. I wanted to be, taking that question from the audience, but this question is from all of them. A lot of women here have products, services, companies which are doing exceedingly well. Some need money, some need investors. If tomorrow one of these women come to you saying that, endorse my product, endorse my service, or become my partner, do you think you're going to be open for that?
Oh, absolutely. If it's something that I resonate with 100%, and I've done that in the past. You know, the idea is also, as a person who is in a place of certain influence, it is also my way to make sure that the businesses that I invest in are sustainable, are green. And most times, I try my level best to at least support as many women-led businesses as I can.
Thank you, Bhumi. I think one of the most important things that I have to mention here is Bhumi, after spending about 45 odd minutes with us, actually told me that I had such a bad neck ache that the team was actually telling me to call it off. But I came because of these women, because I am one of them, and I have the same struggles as they have. Trust me, we really thank you. They've said it, and I think that was my closing line. You were beautiful inside out, because I told you when I started, my father taught me beautiful is what beautiful does. But what you're doing is actually making an impact in the country, but most importantly, in these minds, because somewhere each one of them is thinking that there is that one thing that I can do that can take me from there to here. And that one thing is the inspiration that these people are going to take home with today. And that is something that you've given to each one of us, including me. Thank you, Bhumi, for taking out time. Thank you for doing this for all of us. I think we need more and more women who are sitting in positions of power like you, who believe in other women, who can come out open and say that I'm here because of you, and I will voice your concerns. I will take this story to everyone across in the country, because I believe that you have struggled exactly like me, and we as a community need to be heard, and that's the only way that we can go ahead. Thank you, Bhumi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.